The two people who are famed as the most, or not famed, the two most notorious villains in the canon of Sherlock Holmes are Moriarty and Milverton. According to Sherlock Holmes, they represent the worst in humanity. Of Milverton, he says, do you feel a creeping, shrinking sensation, Watson, when you stand before the serpents in the zoo and see the slithery, gliding, venomous creatures with their deadly eyes and wicked, flattened faces? Well, that's how Milverton impresses me. I've had to do with 50 murderers in my career, but the worst of them never gave me the repulsion which I have for this fellow. This fellow was a blackmailer. Worse than any thief or murderer. Moriarty, by comparison, is given a certain nobility. He's the Napoleon of crime, Watson. He's the organizer of half that is evil and nearly all that is undetected in this great city, and so on. But Milverton is described in so much less flattering language than Moriarty. Milverton is called creeping, venomous, wicked. Repulsion is what he evokes. Moriarty, on the other hand, is called a genius, an abstract thinker, and so on. And Moriarty is the one that Conan Doyle sets up as Sherlock Holmes' adversary, arch nemesis, not Milverton. Milverton is an out-and-out blackguard. And both people were based on real individuals. Milverton was based on a blackmailer called Charles Augustus Howell. And Howell was a charming, charismatic man, probably of royal blood, Portuguese, with a reputation for exaggeration. But there's no doubt at all about how much of a blackguard this man was. And why am I talking about this? Because the activity of Milverton is the same activity of the people in Fleet Street, those people casually calling themselves editors and publishers of The Sun and news group newspapers now. These are the people that are in the sights of Hugh Grant and Prince Harry. Hugh Grant, I think, today tells us that he was surprised to finally have confirmation that he had been hacked and that a burglary had taken place, and the details of his house have been written about in the Sun. And he'd started to put two and two together. Before that, it was just his suspicions. More recently, after the lapse of time had taken place when it was theoretically legitimate to take a case against the Sun, he's only just really got that evidence. Well, of course, it takes time. It takes time. He's not a gutter editor. I could put him in touch with some people who are, but he's not that. He's an actor, and actually is proving to be a particularly talented actor, one of the most talented film actors that Britain has produced recently. And I think he's entitled to his own personal life. We heard today how people from the newspapers had trawled the hospital to try and find out not only his own medical history, but also details about the birth of his children. What repulsive behaviour. As I say, to think I actually know some of them, or at least knew some of them when they were smaller. I would never want to have anything to do with these people. I think their behaviour, this sort of keyhole behaviour, is the behaviour of Milverton. It is blackmail, effectively. They are blackmailing the famous. that, oh, ho, ho, we have stories that we could run about you. How did you get these stories? By listening to your secret messages, by reading your mail, by breaking into your apartment and looking around your apartment when you were out. This is the stuff of theft, but it's mostly the stuff of blackmail. And it should be consigned to history. And the people who did it should be consigned to prison. I can't think of anything worse, actually. This is so far removed from proper reporting, appropriate satire, the exposing of serious misdoings in public life. This is tittle-tattle and blackmail, and it's wrong. And there are people who have made their life out of this, and they think they've done a good job. And we wonder, you know, some of them are in the public eye. I keep hearing, what is it, Piers Morgan's name mentioned. Is he tarred with this sort of behaviour? I don't know. And I'm always very reluctant to mention people's names, but I'm sure these names will come out, and I hope Hugh Grant and Prince Harry will get the justice that they deserve, that is appropriate for them, because they've been denied justice so far, and they've clearly both suffered greatly at the hands of these detestable individuals. This isn't news. This is blackmail.